empath chosen ones can access this gifted power, you probably have it. There's something you've always felt but maybe never fully understood, a quiet sensitivity beneath the surface, a deep knowing that you can't explain, a strange intensity to your emotions that others often dismiss or misunderstand. You've walked into rooms and felt moods shift like waves crashing over you. You've had dreams that felt more real than waking life. People confide in you, often without knowing why, and sometimes you carry burdens that don't seem to be yours. If any of this resonates, then what you're about to hear is not just information, it's confirmation. Because the truth is, you are different. And not in the way society might have tried to convince you. You're not weak, you're not overthinking, you're not too sensitive. You're an empath, and you've been chosen. Now, I know chosen one sounds dramatic, like something out of a fantasy novel or a superhero movie, but stay with me, because what I'm about to reveal isn't fiction. It's ancient truth passed down in whispers through mystery schools, hidden behind symbols in sacred texts, and now rising again because the world is finally ready for it. You are one of the empathic chosen, not because you are better than others, but because you are wired to feel what others cannot, and feeling deeply and fully is the first key to unlocking the power I'm going to show you.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound spiritual lesson.
Empaths are not just emotional, they are energetically attuned. You're a tuning fork, resonating with the frequencies around you. This is why crowds can overwhelm you, why someone's sadness can suddenly become your own, and why you often need solitude more than most. But here's the part they never told you. This sensitivity is not a flaw, it's a gift. A deeply encoded spiritual technology. And when you learn how to use it, when you stop seeing it as a burden and begin to recognize it as a sacred tool, you unlock something extraordinary. Let me ask you something. Have you ever known something about someone without them telling you? Have you ever felt pain in your body that seemed to come from nowhere, only to find out later someone close to you was suffering? Have you ever looked into someone's eyes and seen more than they were willing to share? That's not coincidence. That's not just intuition. That's your empathic field in action. It's a kind of psychic radar, an emotional sonar system that allows you to pick up on what others miss. And it's not just passive, it's active, meaning you can use it to influence, to heal, to transmute energy around you. But only if you awaken it consciously. The mystery schools taught that empaths were the sacred bridges between the seen and unseen, the ones who could walk into energetic chaos and restore harmony, the ones who could feel the collective pain and alchemize it into wisdom. But to do that, they had to go through initiation. They had to learn how to ground their energy, how to protect their field, how to distinguish between what was theirs and what wasn't. Because here's the danger: if you don't harness your empathic gift, it will drain you. It will leave you exhausted, confused, and overwhelmed. But if you do harness it, if you learn the ancient techniques to stabilize and channel your energy, you become something rare. You become a healer, a transformer, a light in the dark. When I first realized I was an empath, I didn't feel powerful, I felt broken. I thought something was wrong with me. I didn't understand why crowded places made me dizzy, or why people's pain lingered in me long after they were gone. I thought I needed to toughen up, shut down, get it together. But every time I tried to numb myself, something inside me dimmed. And it wasn't until I stopped fighting my sensitivity and started listening to it that everything changed. I began to meditate, not just to relax, but to learn. I began to observe the energy around me. I started to ask questions. Why do I feel this when I walk into that house? Why does this person drain me? Why does silence feel more alive than noise? And that's when the gift started to activate. Not all at once, but slowly I began to sense patterns in people's emotions. I could feel where someone was blocked. I could place my hands near someone and feel heat or cold or tingling. I started getting images not from my mind but from somewhere deeper, and the more I trusted it, the stronger it became. That's when I realized being an empath wasn't just about feeling, it was about perceiving energy. And energy is the blueprint of reality. If you can sense it, you can shift it. This is the secret. Empaths can become energy workers, not just emotional sponges, but conscious transmuters. You can enter a space and clear it. You can speak words that recalibrate someone's nervous system. You can use breath, touch, presence, and even silence to initiate healing. But you have to train. You have to unlearn what you've been told, that sensitivity is weakness, and you have to remember what your soul has always known, that your sensitivity is your superpower. So I invite you to ask yourself something right now, not from your mind, but from your inner knowing. What if the very thing you've been trying to suppress is the thing that will set you free? What if your emotions are not obstacles, but doorways? What if every time you felt overwhelmed or out of place, it was because you were picking up on something real, something invisible to others, but deeply present within you? You are not here to fit into a desensitized world. You are here to help resensitize it, to bring back feeling, depth, humanity, empathy. But to do that, you must first claim your gift. You must stop apologizing for it, and you must begin to understand how it works. Because once you do, everything changes. Locking the empathic codes, the ancient practices that activate your hidden power. We've spent so much of our lives trying to survive our sensitivity that we've forgotten it was never meant to be survived. It was meant to be mastered. And now, right now, you're being called to remember what the ancients knew, that your empathy is not just a personality trait, it is an encoded spiritual technology. One that, when unlocked, gives you access to another layer of reality, a deeper, more instinctive universe that speaks not through logic, but through vibration, through frequency, through energy. This is where your true power begins, not when you resist the world, but when you tune into it so clearly that the static falls away and only truth remains. The mystery schools guarded this knowledge because they understood its magnitude. Not everyone was ready to hold such power, but you are. You've already passed the first test. You feel, you empathize, you care. That alone makes you rare in a world addicted to numbness. But now comes the next initiation, turning your raw empathy into refined power. And you do that by learning to work with the invisible layers of energy that exist within and around all things. The ancients called it prana, chi, spirit, ruach. But you felt it long before you knew its name. It's the way your skin tingles before someone speaks. It's the way your stomach tightens when something unseen enters a room. It's the way you just know when someone is lying, even if their words are perfect. This is the empath's compass, sensation, but to use it you must become still. And that's where the first practice comes in, deep, grounded presence. Not the kind of passive meditation that floats you away, but the kind that roots you so deeply into your body and the earth that nothing external can knock you off center. Sit, breathe, feel the weight of your body, feel the pulse in your fingertips. Now listen, not with your ears, but with your whole being. What do you sense? What do you feel? Stay there. That stillness is not empty. It's the gateway to everything. From that stillness, you begin to sense the field. Every person, every room, every object emits a subtle energy. And as an empath, you are already connected to it, but now you must learn to read it. One of the most ancient practices for this is energy scanning. Close your eyes. Imagine someone standing in front of you. Slowly, in your mind's eye, move your awareness over their body. Notice any sensations, heat, cold, pressure. Don't judge or interpret, just feel. This is how you begin to read energy, not by thought, but by resonance. And over time, this becomes second nature. You'll walk into a room and know who's hurting without a word. You'll touch someone's hand and feel their story, not because you're invading, but because their energy is speaking, and you've finally learned how to listen. But awareness alone is not enough. You must also learn to cleanse. Because, as an empath, you absorb what's not yours, and if you don't release it, it calcifies. It becomes fatigue, anxiety, confusion. That's why the ancients practiced energetic hygiene as seriously as we brush our teeth. Water is one of the most powerful tools for this, not just drinking it, but bathing in it with intention. As you shower, visualize the water carrying away everything that doesn't belong to you. Every emotion, every thought, every energetic imprint. Salt baths, smudging with herbs and sound, especially singing bowls or even your own voice, can also cleanse your field. But the most powerful method? Your intention, your will, your command. You are not at the mercy of energy. You are its steward. Protection is the next layer, not walling yourself off, but learning to hold your frequency so strongly that nothing external can override it. Visualize a golden light around you, not as a barrier, but as a radiant field. It doesn't block others, it simply filters. It allows love in and keeps distortion out. Speak to it, program it. Say, only truth, only love, only light may enter, and believe it. Because your belief is the switch that activates the field. Now here's where it becomes powerful. Once you've mastered presence, awareness, cleansing, and protection, you begin to transmit. This is the true gift of the empathic chosen. You're not just here to feel others, you're here to elevate them. You walk into a room and people feel calmer. You speak and it resonates deeper than words. You touch someone's shoulder and their pain begins to dissolve. Not because you're doing anything dramatic, but because your field is clear, coherent, and alive. You become a tuning fork for healing, an anchor for peace, a vessel for transformation. But don't get caught in the illusion that this is about perfection. You'll still have days where you feel too much, where the world is heavy, where your own wounds rise. That's okay. That's human. But now you have tools, you have wisdom, you know how to return to center, and that makes all the difference. So let me ask you, what would your life look like if you stopped apologizing for your sensitivity and started training it? If you turned your empathy into a skill, a craft, a sacred art, what ripple would you create if, instead of shrinking in the face of the world's pain, you stood tall in your ability to feel it and transmute it? Because that is the power of the empathic chosen, not to escape the world, but to feel it so deeply that you change it. The awakening of the empathic healer, how to channel emotions into supernatural gifts. There's a moment in every empath's journey when the pain you feel, yours, the world's, the unspoken sorrow of strangers, becomes so overwhelming that you start to question everything. Why am I like this? Why do I feel so much? Why can't I just move through life like everyone else, untouched, unshaken? But what if I told you that this depth of emotion, this raw sensitivity, is not a curse, but the very doorway into your supernatural gift, that buried underneath the weight of it all is a power so rare, so transformative, that only those who have felt everything can access it. You see, the empathic healer doesn't just feel the world, they change it. Your emotions are not random, they are data, they are energy in motion. And when you learn to work with them instead of fearing them, you begin to access layers of perception and ability that most people will never touch. The ancient initiates knew this. They taught that emotions were portals, gateways to higher consciousness. Anger wasn't just a reaction, it was fuel. Grief wasn't just sorrow, it was a rite of passage. Joy wasn't just happiness, it was a frequency of divine connection. And the empath, more than anyone, has access to the full spectrum of these emotions. Not because you're weak, but because you're wired to process for the collective. You feel what others suppress, you carry what others avoid, and that gives you access to power others can't even comprehend. But here's the shift. You're not meant to carry it forever. You're meant to channel it, to move it, to transmute it. That's the hallmark of the empathic healer. You don't hold the pain, you transform it. Through presence, through breath, through art, through touch, through prayer, through silence. This is why, without even realizing it, people feel better after being around you. You've been acting as a healer your whole life, but now it's time to do it consciously. Let's talk about emotional alchemy. This is not about suppressing or fixing emotions. It's about honoring them. When you feel sadness rising, instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" ask, "What is this trying to teach me? What truth is this revealing?" Sit with it, breathe into it, name it, and then move it. Dance it out, write it out, cry it out. Let it pass through you like a storm, cleansing the land. And as it moves, pay attention to what's left behind. Often it's clarity, or strength, or a quiet knowing. That's the gold. That's the gift. That's what you're here to bring into the world. Now, this gift doesn't stop with you. Once you begin to master your own emotional landscape, you gain the ability to guide others through theirs. This doesn't mean giving advice or fixing people. It means holding space, listening without judgment, feeling without absorbing, reflecting back the truth they've forgotten. Your presence becomes medicine. Your words become keys. Your energy becomes a mirror that helps others see their own light. And here's where the supernatural begins to awaken. As you refine your emotional sensitivity, you'll begin to notice something strange. You'll start to know things before they happen. You'll feel when someone's lying, even if they're smiling. You'll begin to receive images, messages, insights that don't come from your mind, but from somewhere deeper. This is not coincidence. This is not imagination. This is your empathic intuition activating. This is clairsentience, claircognizance, the subtle psychic senses that have been dormant within you, now awakening because you've done the work, because you've proven you can handle truth. And it doesn't stop there. Many empathic healers begin to develop handsome healing abilities. You may notice that when you place your hands on someone, they feel warmth, tingling, emotional release. You may feel energy moving through your palms. This is not fantasy. This is energy medicine, and it's real. You might be called to modalities like Reiki, breathwork, energy clearing, not because you're looking for something new, but because these systems are simply ancient languages for what your soul already knows how to do. The path of the empathic healer is not easy. It demands that you feel deeply, love fiercely, and rise again and again. But it is also one of the most sacred callings on earth. Because in a world starving for presence, for authenticity, for real connection, you are the bridge between the visible and the invisible, between pain and purpose, between trauma and transformation. So let me ask you something that only your soul can answer. What if every emotion you've ever felt was training for this moment? What if your tears were not signs of weakness, but the water that nourished your gift? What if every time you broke, something ancient within you broke open? You are not too much. You are not too sensitive. You are exquisitely designed to feel, and through that feeling to heal, let the awakening begin. The final gift of the empath, becoming the mirror that heals the world. There comes a moment on the empath's path when something powerful shifts. After all the tears, the confusion, the energetic overwhelm, and the quiet awakenings, you realize the truth. You are no longer just someone who feels others. You have become a mirror, a living, breathing reflection of what others have forgotten about themselves. Not because you try to be, not because you need to fix or change anyone, but because your energy has become so clear, so grounded, so present, that when people come into your field, they see themselves more clearly. And that is the final gift of the empath, the ability to help others remember who they are simply by being who you are. This isn't something you do, it's something you become. When you've done the deep inner work, when you've faced your own shadows, healed your own wounds, and embraced your own vastness, you emit a frequency that calls others home. You no longer need to absorb their pain to understand them. You no longer need to carry their emotions to connect. You've evolved beyond survival empathy into embodied presence, and your presence alone becomes transformational. People feel lighter around you, not because you took on their burdens, but because you gave them permission to release what was never theirs. You've become a safe space in a chaotic world, a sanctuary of resonance. But this final gift doesn't come from perfection, it comes from integration. From knowing your darkness and your light and making peace with both. From holding your sensitivity like a sacred sword, not a scar. From walking through the fire and realizing that you are the fire. You don't need to prove your power. You don't need to announce your gift. It speaks through your energy, your eyes, your silence. You become the medicine you once sought, the healing you once craved. You become a frequency of truth in a world lost in illusion. And this is where your true service begins. Not from effort, but from embodiment. You begin to live your life in alignment with something higher. You stop chasing validation and start radiating authenticity. You stop rescuing others and start inspiring them to rescue themselves. The empathic healer becomes the empathic leader, not the loudest voice in the room, but the one with grounded. Not the one with all the answers, but the one who holds the right questions. You become the mirror, not to reflect someone's flaws, but to reflect their forgotten light. Imagine a world where more people remembered how to feel, how to listen, how to hold space. That world begins with you. Every time you choose presence over reaction, every time you listen without judgment, every time you speak from your heart instead of your fear, you ripple, and those ripples become waves, and those waves become tides that change the emotional climate of the planet. This is not wishful thinking. This is energetic law. Your vibration influences everything around you. And when your vibration is clear, loving, and conscious, you become a catalyst for healing in ways far beyond what your mind can measure. This is the silent revolution of the empathic chosen. We don't fight the world with force, we transform it with frequency. We don't push, we anchor. We don't shout, we emanate. And that emanation becomes a force more powerful than any system, any institution, any illusion, because it's real, it's embodied, and it's rooted in love. So now the question is no longer, what is my gift? You already know, it's who you are. The question is, will you live it? Will you trust your sensitivity as your compass? Will you honor your emotions as sacred messengers? Will you walk into the world not trying to fix everything, but knowing that your presence is already enough? You've passed through the fire, you've remembered your power, you've activated the codes, and now you become the mirror, the lighthouse, the living remembrance of what it means to feel deeply, love fully, and walk this earth as a force of healing. You don't need to try harder, you don't need to become anyone else. You only need to remember this truth. You are the gift, and the world is ready for you.